The Morton family gathering buzzed with the usual tensions as mother prepared to distribute grandmother's jewelry collection. My sister Victoria perched triumphantly in the antique armchair, already wearing what she deemed the real pieces. And for Catherine, mother announced with a slight grimace, the remaining pieces. Victoria smirked as I accepted the worn wooden box. At least they'll match your little repair shop. I ran my fingers over the tarnished items, sensing something the others had missed. After 15 years as a gemologist specializing in historical restoration, I'd developed an eye for what lay beneath the surface. The good pieces will look perfect at my gallery opening, Victoria preened, adjusting grandmother's sapphire necklace. Though you're welcome to visit them, Cathy. My phone buzzed discreetly. HRH's office confirms appointment. Urgent authentication requested. Speaking of the shop, mother sighed, are you still playing with those old stones? Victoria's gallery is doing so well. I checked my watch. The royal representative would be arriving soon. Just small repairs, I replied mildly, examining a particularly interesting costume piece from my inherited box. The craftsmanship was unmistakable and centuries old. Costume jewelry, Victoria laughed, while I have the family treasures. Right on cue, Harrison James, representative of the Royal Collection Trust, entered our family sitting room. Your Majesty's personal jeweler has arrived. Mother's prized Cartier necklace slipped from her fingers. Victoria's perfectly glossed mouth fell open. Miss Catherine Morton? Harrison continued. About the historical pieces you identified. Catherine is our repair person, mother stammered. There must be some mistake. No mistake, I smiled, opening my wooden box. Though you might want to take a closer look at those family treasures, Victoria. The real ones are right here. That's impossible, Victoria protested, clutching her sapphire necklace. These are the valuable pieces. Mother had them appraised. By the family jeweler, I noted, carefully lifting a tarnished brooch from my box. Who, like everyone else, saw what they expected to see. Harrison stepped closer, his white-gloved hands trembling slightly. Is that the lost Edinburgh brooch? I confirmed. Commissioned in 1847, thought destroyed in the Windsor fire of 1928. Except grandmother somehow had it all along. Mother's face went pale. But those are costume pieces. Are they? I asked, pulling out another item, a seemingly modest necklace. Like this glass pendant that happens to be the missing Romanov sunrise? The one art historians have been searching for since the Russian Revolution. Victoria's hands flew to her throat, suddenly unsure about her precious sapphires. Your grandmother, Harrison said carefully, how did she? Was the assistant to the royal jeweler during World War II, I finished. When the crown jewels were being hidden from potential invasion. Seems she kept a few secrets. My phone buzzed again. HM requests immediate private viewing of authenticated pieces. But we had mother's pieces appraised, Victoria insisted, her voice rising. They're worth millions. They're worth exactly what you paid for them, I replied. Quality reproductions. Beautiful ones, actually. Grandmother was clever, she kept the replicas polished and prominent, while the real treasure stayed hidden in plain sight, looking like costume jewelry. Harrison was already making calls. The Windsor collection curator is on his way. The Queen's secretary requests a full authentication, I nodded. Already prepared. Including providence tracing these pieces through grandmother's service during the war. Mother sank into her chair. All these years. You saw what you wanted to see, I said gently. Like when you dismissed my interest in historical restoration as playing with old jewelry, while praising Victoria's modern gallery. Victoria was frantically Googling on her phone, her face growing paler as she found images matching the costume pieces in my box. The Edinburgh brooch, it's worth more than your gallery, I confirmed. Much more. And that's just one piece. Harrison cleared his throat. Ms. Morton, about your appointment as Royal Collection Consultant. Mother's teacup clattered against its saucer. Royal. Someone needs to authenticate and restore the pieces properly, I explained, carefully rewrapping the brooch. Grandmother left notes suggesting there might be more hidden treasures in other collections. Victoria stared at her precious sapphire necklace with new uncertainty. Then these are excellent reproductions, I assured her. Worth thousands actually, just not millions. And definitely not royal heritage pieces. My phone lit up with another message. Buckingham Palace security team en route for secure transport of historical pieces. All those years of lectures about my little repair shop, I mused, watching Mother's face as she processed the truth. While I was becoming one of the world's top experts in historical jewelry authentication. Harrison was still making calls. The media embargo is in place, but the announcement of the discovered pieces will be major news. The Queen, Mother whispered, has already requested a private consultation, I confirmed. Apparently, finding lost royal jewelry gets one an audience. Victoria set down her phone, where headlines about the missing Edinburgh brooch's estimated value had finally loaded. Catherine. Don't worry, I smiled, closing my wooden box of treasures. You can still visit the pieces. Once they're installed in their new home at the Tower of London. 1 week later, I stood in the private authentication room at Buckingham Palace, carefully examining pieces under specialized lighting while Victoria's breaking news interview played silently on a nearby screen. Local gallery owner's sister makes shocking royal discovery, scrolled across the bottom as my sister attempted to align herself with my sudden prominence. The Romanov Sunrise authentication is complete, I announced to the waiting curators. The match is definitive. This is the piece that disappeared in 1918. My phone buzzed with another text from Mother. Darling, about that interview with the Times. I smiled, remembering her words at the inheritance reading. At least Victoria knows how to present herself properly. Ms. Morton, the Royal Collection curator, approached. Her Majesty would like your thoughts on several other pieces with questionable provenance. The security feed showed more media gathering outside the palace gates. The discovery of lost royal jewels by a simple repair shop owner had captured global imagination. Another message from your sister, my assistant whispered. Her gallery is offering to host an exhibition of the reproductions. Declined, I replied, examining another piece through my loupe. The Tower of London has priority. The screens displayed breaking news. Catherine Morton appointed Royal Collection consultant. Expert gemologist uncovers historical treasure. Your mother called again, my assistant added. Something about the country club's heritage society. Tell her the palace schedule is quite full, I murmured, identifying another significant piece. Though she's welcome to visit the public exhibition. Once she clears security screening. Victoria's interview continued silently. Of course, I always knew my sister had a special gift. Quite different from her playing with old jewelry comments last month. My phone lit up with a message from the Queen's private secretary. HM requests your presence for afternoon tea. Bring the Edinburgh brooch documentation. The value assessment is complete, my assistant reported. The Edinburgh brooch alone exceeds the worth of Victoria's entire gallery collection. On the screens, Victoria was still trying to capitalize on her connection, as someone with an eye for fine jewelry, conveniently forgetting how she dismissed the real treasures as costume pieces. Ms. Morton, the royal archivist, approached. We found your grandmother's wartime records. Her position gave her access to the entire royal collection during evacuation, I nodded, examining another piece. While everyone was focused on the obvious treasures, she protected the historically significant pieces by making them seem worthless. My phone buzzed with another family message, this time from a cousin who'd mocked my little repair shop at last year's Christmas dinner. Darling, about that family tiara I mentioned. The Queen's schedule is confirmed, my assistant announced. She'd like your expertise on the Victorian collection tomorrow. I thought back to Mother's constant comparisons. Victoria knows the right people. Now her repair shop daughter was having tea with Her Majesty. Your sister's gallery sent over a proposal, my assistant continued. They're suggesting a joint exhibition. Forward it to the Tower of London, I replied. They can add it to their rejection file. The news screens switched to heritage experts discussing my discoveries. Morton's expertise in historical authentication has revolutionized our understanding of royal jewelry collections. Mother's text appeared. "Darling, the Ladies' Historical Society would love a presentation." "Tell her I'm busy," I said, identifying another significant piece. "The Queen takes priority over country club presentations." Victoria's interview was wrapping up, her attempts to share my spotlight growing more desperate. As I always told my sister. Ms. Morton, the Royal Collection curator, interrupted my thoughts. "The Windsor collection needs immediate authentication. Her Majesty suggests you might find more surprises." I carefully packed my tools, watching Victoria on screen claiming she'd always supported my career choice. The same career she'd called a waste of potential just weeks ago. My phone displayed another headline: "Morton Discoveries Rewrite Royal Jewelry History. Expert gemologist uncovers centuries of secrets." "Your mother left another message," my assistant said, "about the family photographs with the jewelry. Remind her that all official images now require palace approval," I replied. "And that claiming connection to royal artifacts without authorization is problematic." The security feed showed Victoria's gallery, where she'd hastily assembled a royal connection exhibition featuring photographs of herself wearing what she now knew were reproductions. "The Queen's private secretary called," my assistant added. "They're discussing a permanent position." I smiled, remembering Mother's words. At least Victoria has a real career. Now her real career involved desperately trying to associate with her sister's expertise, while I prepared for another royal consultation. "One more thing," my assistant said as we headed to the Windsor collection. "Your sister's gallery asked about borrowing the Edinburgh brooch for their heritage event. Tell her she's welcome to borrow the reproduction," I replied. "The original will be rather busy in the Tower of London, next to the crown jewels." 3 months later, I stood in the Tower of London's newly renovated Royal Jewels Exhibition Hall, watching the final preparations for the grand opening. The Edinburgh brooch gleamed in its custom display case, surrounded by the other historical pieces I'd authenticated. "Her Majesty is particularly pleased with the Romanov sunrise restoration," the royal curator commented, adjusting his white gloves. "Though your sister's gallery opening seems to have scheduled their event for the same evening." I smiled, remembering Victoria's desperate attempts to compete with the royal exhibition. Her Heritage Connection show featured enlarged photos of her wearing what she now knew were reproductions. "Ms. Morton," my assistant approached. "The Queen's office confirmed your appointment as Royal Collection Chief Authenticator. They're announcing it at tonight's ceremony." My phone buzzed with another text from Mother. "Darling, about the Women's Club presentation on family heirlooms." "Still busy with actual royal heirlooms," I murmured, examining the Romanov Sunrise's new display. The news screens throughout the exhibition showed continuous coverage. "Morton Authentication revolutionizes royal collection. Expert reveals centuries of hidden treasures." "Your sister's latest interview is trending," my assistant noted. "She's claiming she always knew the pieces were special, despite calling them costume jewelry?" I raised an eyebrow, watching the security team prepare for tonight's royal visit. Victoria's face filled the screens, as someone with intimate knowledge of historical jewelry. "Quite different from her. At least they'll match your little repair shop comments at the inheritance reading." My phone displayed another palace notification. "HM requests private viewing before ceremony. Bring grandmother's wartime documentation." "The guest list for tonight's ceremony is finalized," my assistant reported. "Your mother's request for additional family tickets has been processed according to standard security protocols," I finished, watching another of Victoria's interviews play silently on the screens. The Queen's security team isn't swayed by country club connections. My phone lit up with a message from Mother. "Darling, I've had the family photographs with the jewelry professionally framed. Remind her about the palace guidelines on claiming connections to royal artifacts," I said, adjusting the lighting on the Edinburgh brooch display. The exhibition screen switched to historical footage. World War II Royal Collection. The Hidden Story, featuring photographs of my grandmother whose costume jewelry had protected priceless artifacts for decades. "Your sister's gallery sent over their catalog," my assistant mentioned. "They're featuring reproductions as sister collection to the royal exhibits. Forward it to the palace legal team," I replied. "They've become quite interested in unauthorized royal associations lately." Victoria's face appeared on the news again. Of course, growing up surrounded by such historical pieces. Conveniently forgetting how she'd claimed all the valuable pieces for herself. Ms. Morton, the royal curator approached. Her Majesty suggests you might want to examine the Cambridge collection next. There are several pieces with interesting histories. I thought back to Mother's constant comparisons. Victoria understands value. Now her repair shop daughter was authenticating the Queen's personal collection. My phone buzzed with another family message, this time from an aunt who'd dismissed my career choice. Sweetie, about that family sapphire bracelet. The Queen's schedule is confirmed for next week, my assistant announced. She'd like your thoughts on several historic pieces in her private collection. The security feed showed Victoria's gallery, where she'd arranged her reproduction pieces to mirror the royal exhibition's layout. The sign outside read, Morton Family Heritage Collection. Technically true, but deliberately misleading. Your mother's women's club called again, my assistant said. They're planning a Royal Connections luncheon. Tell them the Tower of London gift shop has lovely postcards, I replied, making final adjustments to the Romanov sunrise display. The screens showed more coverage. Morton Authentication transforms understanding of royal jewelry history. Expert gemologist appointed to royal household. Mother's latest text appeared. The country club is hosting a royal theme gala. How fitting, I murmured, considering they're using reproductions to imitate the real treasures. Rather like their social connections. Victoria's interview continued silently, as the sister of the Royal Collection Authenticator. Her new favorite title replacing successful gallery owner. Ms. Morton, the royal security chief approached. Her Majesty has arrived for the private viewing. I gathered my authentication tools, watching Victoria on screen still trying to claim proximity to royal status. The same status she'd mocked when it came in a worn wooden box.